Okay, so here we are at Dr. Sankawi, getting you to meet the expert himself, who is a specialist in hormone replacement therapy, a topic that as women we need a little bit more information, advice and tips on how to manage being a woman, how to manage the hormones that play up on us. So none other than Dr. Adil Khan will be chatting to us and sharing his tips and advice with us. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Adil Khan. Thank you so much for affording us your time, and our viewers would definitely appreciate whatever advice you could give us regarding female well-being and health.
Assalamu Noshina, and good day to all our listeners. Thank you for having me on the show.
Okay, so Dr. Khan, being the month of August and our focus is very much Women's Month. But before anything else, we've got to look at a female's well-being, her health. As a woman, you're a wife or you're a mum, and we even have the working individual. So if your health isn't in order and a woman's not feeling up to it, it obviously tends to affect people around her. And obviously our hormones play a huge part in that way. It affects your diet, it affects your skin, it plays a part on your mood swings. So I think most women tend to battle with, okay, as a teenager you start up with your monthly menstrual cycle, and then as your body transitions later in life, we tend to experience different symptoms and commonly known as menopause, which is what we'd like to discuss today. But before we get into detail, maybe you can tell our viewers a little bit more about what is menopause actually?
Well, menopause basically means that it's the final period that a lady experiences. One cannot say that they've had their final period unless they've been through a 12-month period without their menstrual cycle. It's a very natural process. The ovaries run out of eggs. It may also occur due to surgical reasons. It may occur due to cancer therapy, like our chemotherapy or radiotherapy.
Okay, and what age would you say a woman could experience symptoms of menopause?
Majority of women reach menopause between the ages of 45, but recent evidence-based medicine shows that the average age of menopause in Caucasians is around 51, and in Asians it would be the later 40s.
Okay, so look, I've been reading up a bit just to understand it a little bit more. From my understanding, you do get premenopause, and then you'd get menopause, and then you'd get postmenopause. So it's obviously transitions from one to the other. So what symptoms would be associated with an individual with premenopause?
Yeah, I think that's the key thing that most women need to know about, and that is the transition from one phase to the next. Like you said, there's a perimenopausal phase, which then transitions into menopause. And from menopause, we get the postmenopausal phase. But most importantly, I see patients that present to me in the perimenopausal phase. So your perimenopausal phase is your transition to menopause. It's the transition before the period comes to an end. It usually starts in the mid-40s. It lasts about 4 to 6 years. And this is the time where symptoms start to present. So commonly, ladies will come to me and say, I'm having hot flushes or I'm having sweats. And this is due to the low estrogen levels. Others would complain that they're getting their periods less regularly than they used to. And many of them want to do a lot of blood tests and investigations, but even before that, I always sit down and counsel patients with regard to the health changes that are associated with the perimenopausal phase. Now, important health changes that we need to address, obviously one would be the change in fertility. Fertility diminishes during the perimenopausal phase. This is because the eggs have now aged over a period of time.
Sure.
Other changes would be your cardiovascular changes. A lot of women develop high blood pressure during this perimenopausal phase. Also, there's changes in cholesterol. Low estrogen causes a high cholesterol. And I think more often than not, a lot of women get mood changes. So there's increased irritability and mood swings. Okay. Yeah, and then I think another one to add to that would be the increased risk of recurrence of depression.
Well, I think the one you touched on, mood swings, is key because everyone can sort of identify to that, mainly your partners or your colleagues at work. So how would you manage mood swings when you are already perimenopause or in that transitional phase?
I think the key thing in the perimenopausal phase is just to manage symptoms, and there are a number of ways to manage the symptoms. There's different options to approach. One would be a low-dose oral contraceptive. The low-dose oral contraceptive, however, only suits a certain patient profile. That would be people that are not overweight, overweight or obese, those that are non-smokers, they have no risk of thromboembolic disease, and those that don't have high blood pressure. Another option would be the Mirena IUD. It thins the lining of the uterus, it prevents heavy menstruation, and also acts as a form of contraception. The last option would be cyclic HRT. So if contraception is not an issue in females, then hormone replacement therapy using medication that gives you doses of estrogen and progesterone can be used cyclically. So you'll be on it for a period of time and then off it from there.
Okay. So, just again, me with doing my own little homework about menopause. With osteoporosis, from my understanding, women that haven't been on a supplement or, prior to reaching the perimenopausal state, does osteoporosis actually affect women that are going through that transition?
Yeah, so obviously what happens is that all the side effects that occur during the menopausal or the perimenopausal phase occur due to hormonal changes.
Okay.
I know often we think that the estrogen is just declining during the perimenopausal phase, or during menopause it reaches its lowest point, and this is why we get so many side effects, and as you've mentioned, you get osteoporosis. But what happens in the perimenopausal phase is that hormones are constantly changing. They're swinging up and down. So this is a time where you can get a second ovulation in one menstrual cycle, and that second ovulation can in fact cause an increase in your estrogen levels. So hormones are constantly changing. There's a different ovarian response, and low estrogen levels can produce the mood symptoms. It can lead to osteoporosis and other diseases as well.
Okay, so when a woman experiences these changes, does it have an impact on her diet, maybe a certain type of craving? I know generally women that are due on their cycle at that time of the month tend to crave more sugars. So does this actually happen whilst you're going through that?
Yeah, I think not only women that have that have changes in their hormone levels, but people in general, we often eat as a form of comfort.
Okay.
So I find a lot of ladies during the time where they're going through the perimenopausal phase and mood swings and things like that, they tend to look for more refined carbohydrates and complex sugars as well. So the whole idea there is not to binge eat, and rather present to your doctor immediately and explain your symptoms and get an assessment.
Okay, so key topics with women, I think we hear it on a day-to-day basis, is menopause, how, what to expect, symptoms and so forth. And another big one, I think for me, would be PCOS. We never heard that much of it, in the past, but now it's become so common that every other person is experiencing it. So what is PCOS?
Yeah, so PCOS is known as polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a very common hormonal illness now. In fact, research shows that 1 in 5 women of a childbearing age are now affected by polycystic ovarian syndrome. Okay. There's two basically factors that contribute to the development of polycystic ovarian syndrome. One would be genetic, so it follows family and ethnic lines, but the other, I think, which is more relevant in our setting, would be lifestyle. Lifestyle patterns of poor eating habits, of physical inactivity, becoming overweight and obese, all contribute to the development of polycystic ovarian syndrome.
So Dr. Khan, are there any treatment options for PCOS?
Well, the not so good news is that polycystic ovarian syndrome doesn't go away, and there's increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. However, the good news is that polycystic ovarian syndrome symptoms can be treated, and they become less severe as we advance with age. So not all the ladies experience all the symptoms. They're very individualized, and as I said, that they do lessen with age. The mainstay of treatment with polycystic ovarian syndrome would be obviously to maintain a healthy lifestyle, make lifestyle modifications, exercise regularly, maintain a healthy diet, those kind of things. There are other hormonal issues that do need to be addressed, which medical therapy should suffice.
Okay, so basically, if it is something that's hereditary, like you were saying, it's imperative then to change your lifestyle and watch your diet, because you'd obviously be prone to picking up PCOS going forward. Now, that obviously interferes with the woman trying to maybe plan a family going forward. So how is there any way that you can manage that? Is it possible for women to actually conceive if they are battling with PCOS?
I think even before considering conceiving, there are a number of other issues that need to be addressed. Like I said, it's called a syndrome, and then a number of other issues that contribute to it. One of them is elevated male type hormones, and we need to address the male type hormones like testosterone and your androgens.
Okay.
We find these hormones in very small amounts in females, but in patients with polycystic ovarian syndrome, they become elevated, but still not significantly higher than we find in males.
Okay.
And it's these type of hormones that contribute to the abnormal hair distribution on the face, the stomach, the back. So patients present with that abnormal hair distribution. These patients also find it more difficult in conceiving because of the elevated male type hormones. The other major issue in polycystic ovarian syndrome would be insulin resistance. Now, physiologically, insulin decreases our blood sugar levels by actually pushing all our glucose into the cells, and the cells use that as a source of energy, or the excess glucose is converted to glycogen stored in our liver and our skeletal muscle. So in polycystic ovarian syndrome, the cells now become resistant to insulin. That insulin remains in the bloodstream, the levels become very high, that in turn causes an increase in appetite, and then patients begin to pick up weight and actually become morbidly obese. And in the long run, they can become pre-diabetic and develop type 2 diabetes.
Okay, so now that you've mentioned liver, it has it's got something to do with storing in your liver, and I've been reading up a little bit about yourself just to find out what you offer, and I believe you offer IV therapy infusions, and there is something to help with liver. Can you maybe just brief us on that just before we wrap up?
We offer a number of IV infusions. So as many of us know, we take vitamins on a daily basis, and some of us are not very compliant with taking those daily multivitamins. So what an IV infusion offers is that it's direct delivery of the vitamins into your bloodstream and a better bioavailability of the drug to your body. Okay. So we offer a number of different treatments, and one of them is the liver detox. So it contains a number of multivitamins that keep the liver very healthy moving forward.
Okay, and I'm sure that would help our women keeping those energy levels up.
Yes, of course, yeah. Especially for the ladies that are perimenopausal, complaining of fatigue as well. We do a chronic fatigue drip. It contains high doses of your B vitamins, high doses of vitamin C to boost your immune system, and you only need to come in on a weekly basis and have it done.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Dr. Adil Khan. It was very informative, and I'm sure our viewers have a better understanding of how to manage our hormones.
Pleasure.
Better.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Well, that was very informative with Dr. Adil Khan sharing his expertise on how to well manage your hormones. What are the symptoms? What your lifestyle should be, or how your lifestyle plays such an impact on something like PCOS. So with us today, we've got an expert nutritionist who would be able to help us and guide us with our diets, our fitness levels, and which would obviously aid with lifestyle and in turn help us manage things like PCOS. So with us today, we have Karen Khan, who would be able to share and give us some tips regarding that. Assalamu alaikum, Karen. Thank you once again for being on the show with us today. And we are waiting to get that information from you, and I'm sure our viewers are going to be very appreciative on how you can help us best manage that.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you for having me on the show.
Okay, so Karen, with like Dr. Adil Khan mentioned, lifestyle is key when it comes to management of PCOS. So how would one I think we need to start off mainly with diet, because that's a big part of lifestyle. So what should one be eating if you are someone that's battling with PCOS?
A lot of people follow fad diets or look for a quick fix. When you have PCOS, there's no quick fix. It's a long-term, a lifestyle change which you actually have to make. A good way to start is by following a low-carb diet.
Okay.
I'm not saying cut out carbs. A lot of people think that they need to cut out carbs out of their diets, but we need the carbs, as carbs give you energy that we need to get through our day. So when I talk about a low carb diet, I mean you need to cut out the refined carbs in your diet. So you're still keeping what we call the good carbs in our diet so that we have the energy sources to get through our day. And the refined carbs, which you would cut out, are anything that's made with white flour. It would be your white breads, your white rice, your pastas, and those sorts of things.
Okay, so what would one substitute like your breads and your pastas with if it's an individual that enjoys eating pasta then?
You can always, there are options of high fiber whole wheat pastas as well as your whole wheat breads. You can also substitute it with oats and then your brown rice.
Okay, so when you look at on diets, when you're looking to follow a certain diet, would you recommend that we keep to 3 meals, which is something we've grown up with, or would you advise someone that's experiencing PCOS to look at maybe smaller meals more frequently?
No, definitely. You would at least eat about 6 meals a day to try and space out your meals 2.5 to 3 hours throughout the day. Where that helps is it keeps your insulin levels at a baseline where you don't have a spike and you don't have a drop. So you feel energized throughout the day by eating that way.
Okay, are there any particular foods that one should be eating if you're experiencing this type of...
Yes. Well, first of all, it's not just the refined carbs that you need to cut out. As a woman with PCOS, you also need to cut out your sugary foods and then also the starchy vegetables like your potatoes, your peas and your corn, and those can be substituted with your green vegetables, which are a lot better for you to eat because they also help with the whole fat burning process.
Okay. Now, you mentioned cut out sugary things, and I know with women, when our hormones go crazy, the first thing we tend to reach out for is sugary treats, or like Dr. Khan mentioned, your comfort foods when you're not feeling at your best. So how do you actually sort of suppress that craving? Is there anything that's probably lacking in your diet and that's the reason for you reaching out to sugary foods, or are we just blaming our hormones for it? What is it? A lot
of the time it is actually your hormones, but like I said, if you maintain your meals throughout the day, you shouldn't be craving. And a lot of us do have a sugary tooth or a sweet tooth, should I say. So we're going to have those cravings. But it helps to eat regularly through the day so that you don't get those cravings. So it suppresses those cravings actually. And if you do have the cravings, there are alternatives. You can have your wine gums. You can also, another alternative is just to grab a fresh fruit like an orange or a naartjie or a peach.
So like your natural
sugars. Because those
sugars.
are like best sugars,
Okay. And okay, so we've covered now diet. We should be eating, well, if you're battling with that type of syndrome, you need to be having at least 6 small meals, eating more frequently, keeping away from your refined foods, and your sugars should ideally come from natural sugars. Yes. What about exercise? Where does exercise come in? Because surely you need to have that balance of watching your diet and also, you know, bringing in some exercise as well.
Oh no, definitely. So your diet will also help with your weight loss if you can maintain, you know, a strict diet. But exercise plays a huge role at also helping with the weight loss process. So you need to find exercise or an exercise program which you're going to enjoy, which you have to incorporate in your lifestyle. It needs to become like a daily routine, basically.
So basically,
So it could be an aerobic exercise of running or swimming. It can be joining the aerobic class at the gym or anything like that, because all of that will benefit a lady with PCOS, as that will help maintain weight and also help with the weight loss.
Okay. My next big question to you, not PCOS. When a woman is due for her monthly cycle, and I know the week before we tend to go a bit crazy where you tend to have hunger pangs and then you wanting to eat sweet foods, what can we substitute that's healthy when you're experiencing this?
So you will stick to your low fat, low sugar treats. Like again, I'll say your wine gums. You also get the 70% dark chocolate that you can have, which is a lot better for you. A lot of people don't like that, but it's a better option to have. But hopefully you don't have those cravings if you do stick to your 6 meals a day and you incorporate your fruits and you have a well-balanced diet.
So Karen, tell me, do you make up or assist in a diet plan for women that battle with PCOS, aiding them with exercise and maybe what to eat, what they shouldn't eat, or just any individual that's looking to lose weight?
Yes, I do assist ladies with PCOS or just overall weight loss. And my programs and training plans and diets are very specific to the client's needs.
All right. So from my understanding, you work very closely with Dr. Khan as well, because you need to obviously identify any underlying health issues before you work with the patient's diet program, because it is a personal diet that you work on individual needs, like you've mentioned.
Yes, that is true.
Okay, so where do you work at Dr. Zonkawi with Dr. Adil Khan? Is that where you do your diet programs and fitness training and so forth?
Yes, that's where I'll be based. I'll be based at Dr. Zonkawi, and I'll be using one of the rooms at the practice.
Thank you, Karen. That was really informative on how to manage your diets and what we need to do and what we shouldn't be doing at the time on our monthly cycles, as well as those patients that battle with PCOS. So that was Karen Khan, a nutritionist, and her partner, Dr. Adil Khan. They are definitely experts at what they do, based here at Doctors Zonkawi in Durban, helping and assisting women with PCOS, where Karen would come in and work out a specific individual diet for you and aid you with your personal fitness. Well, thank you once again for watching Modern Unmodest here on ITV from myself and the ITV crew. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.